Hi everyone, I'm the plant propagator and welcome to my channel. Today it is a warm early June day here in Southwest Florida. I'm sounding like a broken record. 88 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 30 degrees Celsius. And it's still morning. So this is going to be a nice warm day today. What I wanted to share with you today, I got a quick video, I think. And what I wanted to share with you is this plant that's growing on this Christmas palm. And this is Dendrobium crumenatum. This is it's a Dendrobium species. I have a couple of plants of this. I actually was gifted this plant by a golf course manager who says this plant is growing all over the place. They get big. You can take pieces off. It's a wonderful plant. So I was told, and I've got a couple of plants. I had a plant that kind of grew big. I tried growing in a pot. It didn't do as well. It didn't do that well. But and then I mounted it, and it's just for some reason in this location has been doing really well. Dendrobium crumenatum is interesting. It's also called pigeon's orchid, I think. Maybe because it looks like a pigeon in flight, I don't know. But this is a Dendrobium species that has some unique characteristics to it. And what it does, it has little small white flowers. And the interesting thing about Dendrobium crumenatum is that it blooms one day. So the flowers open for one day. It can bloom multiple times a year, but the flowers bloom, they open for one day. And I've been watching this plant and the flowers have been close, and today apparently is the open day for blooming of this plant. The flowers they're dainty, they're small, white. There's a little bit of you have some yellow in the throat of this thing, and they're also really fragrant. I don't really like the fragrance of crumenatum, but I mean, I'm sitting here and it's very characteristic. It's kind of a musty, sweet fragrance that comes from this plant. It draws a lot of bees. As I first sat down here, I was looking down and the honeybees were on this plant, and I actually saw a honeybee with pollinia on its back. So these may be self-pollinated. I've never seen a capsule on this plant, but I'm actually going to try to self this plant when I'm done with the video today, just to see what I get. I was considering crossing a plant onto this, another one of my dendrobiums onto this, but the feature that makes this unique, one day of open flowers, is not really desirable for the dendrobiums that I have. I've got some other dens that are open, but I don't want to cross anything onto this, again, because of the short flowering time. Maybe because of the fragrance it would be nice, but I just don't want to deal with small flower, white, short flower life is the problem here. One of the other interesting things about this plant is the flower. So all of the flowers are open today. They'll probably be done tomorrow, if not the day after. But the interesting thing about this is, I told you I had two plants. The other plant, we're going to go take a look at it in a second. It's in my front yard, also mounted on a palm tree, and not talking with this plant, but it's also blooming today. Again, so when you have orchids that only bloom for one day, and you've got these plants that are at a different part of my yard that are both blooming on the same day, there's a signal that's going on. There's something that's going on that's making this plant and the other plant bloom on the same day. Lots of options. They could be a day apart or 2 day apart, but they always do this. They always bloom on the same day. So I went to the literature and I looked up Dendrobium crumenatum flowering, and there's a few articles on it. None of them are very good, but it just kind of gives a typical explanation. I felt that the explanations for why what induces flowering in this, were very similar to what you hear for Phalaenopsis. And so that is temperature, and photoperiod. And there was one additional article that said it's because of the amount of rain or the rainfall or moisture levels induce flowering on this. Again, in most cases, there is a, in Phalaenopsis, it's been really well documented that it's a combination of photoperiod day length plus temperature. And so you need a little bit of a lower temperature induction. I don't think we had that with this plant. It's been pretty warm here for a while. Unless it was induced to flower a few months ago, which I don't think happened. But I'm not really, so I think it's probably a photoperiod thing, but really, again, the fascinating thing, why I became a plant physiologist was because they can, there's interesting physiology going on here. Again, why would this plant and that plant bloom the same day, not a day apart, not 2 days apart, the same day? And so there is a reason behind this. So I remember in graduate school, I was asked on a I don't know if it was a test or an assignment, why are plants photoperiod sensitive? Why do they all bloom based on photoperiod? Why do they bloom the same day? And well, the answer in hindsight, now that I know it, is obvious. And that is because when you have this plant blooming and that plant blooming in the front, it increases the chance of cross-pollination. When you have the bees that were coming to this plant that are collecting pollinia on the same day that the flowers open in the front of my house and in the back of my house here, then that increases the chance for pollination. Again, what I have here, these are two clones, but if they weren't, you would get an enhanced exchange from these plants that all happen to be blooming the same day, or at least the same time of the year. So that's the evolutionary advantage. And again, this is a Dendrobium species found in the wild. The possibility for pollination on the plants, because all the flowers are open the same day or the same week, is much higher than if they were to flower at different times of the year. So that's the explanation for that. So again, this plant's pretty much loaded. So there's there's new spikes here that aren't open, but this has a lot of flowers. I've seen images, I've seen video of plants where that all you can see is just an ocean of white. And there's a lot of flowers on this small plant here. And like I said, just sitting here, even though the wind's blowing this way, I catch occasional fragrance. Not a smell I like I said. But this thing is really loaded. This thing is also making, and it's easy, really easy to propagate. There's keikis, so here's a keiki coming out here. There's another keiki coming out here, another one right here. So there's a lot of keikis that this plant produces, and they're really easy to propagate through keikis. And again, what I'm going to try is just for fun to get some seed, just to see if I can get some seed capsules forming on this plant. All right, anyway, so really interesting plant, really nice, dainty, white flowers, intensely fragrant, but short-lived, but they all bloom the same time. So what I want to do, I hope you enjoyed it so far. What I'm going to do is, without taking a break, just because I want you to know, I want you to see that this plant and the one in the front of my house are blooming the same day, I'm going to pick up the camera, leave it running, and go to the front of my house. We may stop a little bit too, and we're going to take a look at the plant blooming there. Okay, so let me grab the camera and let's go for a walk. Okay, we're going to take a quick stop right here. And I've showed you these before. So these are some really nice daylilies that you're not supposed to be able to grow in Florida, but they do grow. So this is one plant here, and pretty nice. This has bloomed for me in the past You know, really nice bloom, and this is fragrant. But what I wanted to show you is a new bloom for me. It's a different plant, of course, but this is a nice daylily. This is the first time this plant has bloomed. And these come from my house in the Midwest. So they made it. I didn't think they would grow here, but they do. One other thing I want to show you before we take a look at the Dendrobium crumenatum, but this is a plumeria, and this is a dwarf plumeria, and I really like the flowers that are on this plant, but this is the only flowers that's here. The plant itself is getting kind of big for a dwarf plant, so this is a little over 6 feet tall, but doing pretty nice. Okay, so let's take a look at the Dendrobium crumenatum that is right here. So these are the flowers on this crumenatum that's right here on this tree. And you may not be able to see it that well, but it's right here and the flowers are there. But I just wanted to share this with you and explain to you again that these flowers are all, this plant in the front of my house and the back of my house are all blooming at the same time, the same day. All right, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did and you want to keep on seeing them, it would help me out if you can click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. All right, that's all I have for you today. Again, I hope you enjoyed it, and happy propagating.